I never thought I'd be the kind of guy to get blindsided like this, but here I am, sitting on my couch trying to piece together what the hell just happened. It's like someone dumped a bucket of ice water right over my head, sudden, cold, and shocking enough to leave me numb. It all started a few weeks ago, I guess. Things seemed fine, normal even. I'd been with Lisa for almost 3 years. We'd talked marriage, dreamt about moving in together, and I thought I knew her inside out. But then came the party, our engagement party actually, and that's when everything unraveled. The house was packed, friends and family smiling, glasses clinking, the kind of night supposed to be about celebration. I remember seeing Lisa in her red dress, her hair falling in soft waves around her shoulders, laughing at some joke her sister told. It felt perfect. I was proud, happy, until I saw her kiss him. It was subtle at first, the way she turned her head, the way her hand brushed his arm before she leaned in. It happened so fast, but I saw it clearly. My best friend Jake, standing right there, his face lighting up as she pressed her lips to his. I froze. My stomach dropped like I'd been punched hard. The world around me seemed to slow down, the music dimming, voices muffling. I kept watching, stunned. Lisa's hand lingered on his chest a second longer than it should have, and Jake's eyes fluttered shut for a moment like some guilty thrill. I felt like I'd been hit in the gut and I couldn't breathe. How long had this been going on? How long have they been sneaking behind my back? Before I could process it, I saw Lisa pull away, smoothing her dress. Jake looked around, saw me, and his face instantly hardened. She didn't even try to hide it. That kiss was too casual, too familiar. The kind you share when you think no one's watching, but I had seen enough. I didn't move right away. Instead, I stayed rooted to the spot, my fists clenched so tight my fingernails dug into my palms. My ears rang, and my vision blurred with anger. My mind spun with questions I didn't want to ask aloud. How long have they been doing this? Were there more? Did Lisa ever love me, or was I just another fool she was using? I finally turned away, feeling a hot wave of betrayal surge through my chest. I went outside, took a deep breath of cold night air, trying to hold myself together. My hands trembled as I fumbled for my phone, but I hesitated. Part of me wanted to confront her right then, but I knew it wouldn't be that simple. What I saw that night in that moment was like a wrecking ball to my trust. Everything I believed about her, the future I imagined, they all shattered in that one kiss. For days after I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. I replayed everything I saw, every detail burning in my mind. I told myself I should be angry, that I should confront her immediately, but instead I just sat there, numb, trying to sort out what this all meant. I kept asking myself, was I blind? Did I miss the signs, or was she just better at hiding her true self? What I do know now is this: Lisa wasn't who I thought she was. That kiss changed everything. The trust I had built up over years was gone, and I felt like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, unsure if I could even look her in the eye anymore. And so here I am trying to figure out what comes next. Do I blow everything up? Do I pretend I didn't see that kiss? Or do I play my hand and turn her world upside down? I don't have all the answers yet, but I know I need to act. Because in my gut I feel something brewing, a plan forming, one that might just give me the revenge I never wanted but now can't ignore. That night, after the party, I didn't sleep. My mind was a whirlpool of rage, hurt, and a strange sense of clarity. I kept replaying that kiss, that moment Lisa and Jake shared like some secret they thought I'd never see. The coldness of her lips, the way Jake's hand had brushed her waist, every detail seared into my memory. I knew then I couldn't let this slide. I needed to do something. Not just for myself, but to make her realize I wasn't some idiot who'd get played and forget. I sat on the edge of my bed, phone in hand, heart pounding. I started by gathering evidence, in case I needed to confront her properly. It wasn't just about the photos or the video clip I managed to secretly record. I wanted to know what else was going on behind my back. The first thing I did was look through her phone. It wasn't hard, I knew her passcode. I skimmed through messages, social media, even her secret folders. It was like rummaging through a hidden world. There were texts between her and Jake, flirty, suggestive, sometimes outright intimate. She sent him pictures I'd never seen before, close-ups, whispered confessions, emojis that screamed secret. I wasn't stupid enough to believe I was the only one, but seeing it all laid out like that made my stomach turn. What sealed the deal was a string of messages from just last week. She was planning to meet him again, saying she couldn't wait and that she needed her fix. I clenched my fists so hard my nails dug into my palms. That was the moment I realized I had to act. No more playing nice, no more pretending I didn't see. I took screenshots of everything, every message, every suggestive photo, every timestamp. Then I deleted any trace of my snooping just in case she checked her phone later. I didn't want her to realize I'd been inside her world, but I knew I'd need that evidence if I was going to do what I planned next. By the morning, I had a clear plan forming. I wasn't just going to confront her and scream. That would make me look weak, desperate. Instead, I would turn her game right back on her. I wanted her to see that I wasn't some fool she could string along. I'd make her regret ever crossing that line. First step was to set a trap. I knew she'd be working late that evening. She always worked late on Thursdays, supposedly. I called in sick, told her I needed some time to think, and I stayed home. I set up my laptop with a hidden camera pointed at her phone in the living room. I wanted her to think she was still in control, but I'd be watching every move she made. Then I waited. The minutes dragged, each passing second fueling my anger and frustration. When she finally got home, she looked surprised to see me awake. Her eyes flicked to her phone, and I could tell she was nervous. Good, I wanted her to feel that fear. She tried to act casual, but I wasn't buying it. "Hey," she said, voice flat, "you okay?" "Fine," I shot back, voice tight, "just wanted to talk." I pulled out the evidence on my phone, showing her the screenshots. "Care to explain this?" Her face paled. "What are you talking about? That's not what it looks like." "Oh, I think it is," I said, voice colder than I felt. "You've been sneaking around with Jake for months. How long has this been going on? Do you even care about what I thought we had?" She stammered, trying to deny it, but I cut her off. "Save it, I've got everything right here." I let her see the evidence, watching her blush turn to a mix of guilt and defiance. "I never meant for it to go this far," she whispered, voice trembling. "It was a mistake. I don't know what I was thinking." "You weren't thinking," I snapped. "You were acting like you could have your cake and eat it too." "Well, not anymore." Felt my pulse pounding in my ears, but I kept my voice steady. "This is over. You want to see what real betrayal looks like? Keep playing these games and I'll make sure everyone finds out what you really are." Her eyes filled with tears. "Please don't do this. I love you." "Love?" I scoffed. "If you loved me, you wouldn't have kissed him at our party. You wouldn't be sneaking around behind my back. You lost that right a long time ago." She looked broken, defeated, but I knew I couldn't just walk away. Not yet. Not until I made sure she understood the extent of her betrayal. I watched her pack her things slowly, knowing I was about to do something I'd never thought I'd consider. As she left, I stood at the door. I looked her in the eyes and said, "You're not coming back. Don't bother trying to contact me. I want my keys, my ring, everything that's mine. Take whatever you want, just get out of my life." She hesitated, then slowly reached into her purse, pulling out my keys and the ring I'd given her. I took a deep breath, feeling that strange mix of adrenaline and emptiness. I handed her the keys and the ring, watching her walk out that door like a ghost. That's when I realized how much I'd been holding onto, how much I'd been willing to accept. And now I was free. Or at least that's what I told myself. But inside, I knew I'd crossed a line, and I wasn't sure if I'd ever fully recover from this. The days that followed felt like walking through fog, thick, unrelenting, and eerily silent. I kept replaying that confrontation in my head, trying to grasp what had just happened. It was like waking up from a nightmare I'd been living but refused to see. My house, once filled with her presence, suddenly felt hollow, like the walls absorbed the echo of her footsteps and her voice. I hadn't realized how much I'd relied on the routine of her being there, her laugh, her scent, the simple comfort of knowing she was just a room away. I threw myself into work, but even that was half-hearted. Everywhere I looked, I saw reminders of her. Her perfume on a shirt I'd forgotten I'd left on the chair. The half-empty coffee mug she always used, sitting untouched on the kitchen counter. Damn, I was spiraling and I knew it. But inside, a flicker of anger was growing, fueled by that feeling you get when you're so betrayed, you start questioning everything. Your judgment, your trust, your very reality. One night I sat on my balcony, drinking whiskey and staring into the city lights. My hands were numb, but my mind was racing. I was trying to piece together how to move forward, how to erase her from my life without becoming the bitter guy I feared I might turn into. That's when it hit me, revenge. Not the childish, petty kind, but something calculated, something that would make her regret every second she ever made me believe I was enough. I wasn't a violent guy, never was, but I knew how to be cold. I wanted her to see that I could do more than just walk away. I could make her feel the loss. The moment I decided to act, a plan formed in my mind, sharp and precise. It was time she understood what she'd thrown away. The first step was to gather intel. I needed to know her routines, her new schedule. Just enough to strike where it hurt. I started paying close attention, her social media posts, her new friends, even her work hours if I could. I wasn't stalking, I was observing. I wanted to know her weak spots, her triggers, but I also had to be subtle. I didn't want her to suspect I was orchestrating anything, so I kept my distance, blending into the background. I knew her habits and I knew her weak spots, her need for validation, her secretive side, her obsession with social media likes. I started planting little seeds, the kind that would grow into something bigger. A fake Instagram account, for example, to make her think someone was interested, an anonymous admirer. Nothing too obvious, just enough to stir her curiosity, maybe even panic. I also paid attention to her contacts. There were a few people she'd been talking to, a coworker she'd met at a conference, a girl from her yoga class. I made sure to memorize their names, their routines, their usual hangouts. My goal was to create a scenario where she'd feel exposed, vulnerable. I had to make her understand that her secrets weren't safe anymore. One evening, I finally reached out through the fake account. I sent a simple message. "You look beautiful in your latest post. Someone got your number, huh?" It was vague enough to not give myself away, but just direct enough to spark her curiosity. The reply came quicker than I expected. Her fingers trembled on the screen and her response was hesitant, nervous, a little defensive. "Who is this?" I played it cool. "Just someone who appreciates a woman who knows how to keep a secret." I kept it light, but inside I was boiling. I knew I had her hooked. She'd start obsessing over who was watching, who was interested. Perfect. Next, I planned to escalate. I wanted her to realize she wasn't the only one with secrets. I'd leave subtle clues, messages, maybe a little gift, just enough to make her paranoid. I wasn't aiming to destroy her, just to make her question everything. Her choices, her trust, her sense of security. I wanted her to feel the same chaos she'd put me through. While all this was happening, I also prepared to confront her again. This time, not with anger, but with control. I wanted her to see that I wasn't helpless or naive. That I could play her game just as well. I was sick of feeling powerless. Now I was rewriting the story, making sure she knew I was just as smart, just as dangerous in my own way. That night I sat at my desk, looking at the list of her contacts, her routines, my carefully crafted plan. I felt that familiar rush, the thrill of a game I was about to win. It was bittersweet, really. The betrayal had cut deep, but part of me was relieved that I finally had something to hold on to, something that made me feel in control again. I knew she'd get suspicious soon, maybe even try to confront me or push back. And when she did, I'd be ready. I wasn't just going to let her slip away, not like this. I'd make her regret every choice she'd made. And I was just getting started. The tension in my chest was almost unbearable as I waited for her reaction. Every minute felt like an eternity. I had gone from the calm, calculated part of my plan to an anxious mess, watching her social media notifications light up her phone screen. That little fake account I set up was working better than I thought. She was biting. She'd send a message, then quickly erase it, her fingers trembling. I could almost see her paranoia building, and honestly, I took a sick sort of satisfaction in that. One night, she finally texted back. Her fingers hovered over the keyboard for a second before she finally typed, "Who are you?" Her voice, even through the screen, sounded shaky. My stomach lurched, but I kept my tone cool and detached. "Just someone who appreciates honesty." "Why don't you tell me your real name?" I responded, my hand steady despite the adrenaline coursing through me. I knew I'd pushed her to the edge, and that was the point. I wanted her to feel that vulnerability, that exposure she'd inflicted on me for months. It worked. Her reply was almost immediate. "I don't know what you want from me." Her words trembled, and I knew she was starting to crack. Good. I decided to open the door a little wider. "Maybe I just want to talk, face to face. You've been hiding a lot, Lisa. Maybe it's time you tell me the truth." I paused, letting my words sink in. Her next response was hesitant, but it was enough. "Okay, fine, I'll meet you, but only to clear things up." I kept my cool. "Good, tonight, cafe on Main, be there at 8. I didn't specify that I'd be watching her, waiting for her to walk into my trap. I wanted her to think she was in control, that she was the one making the choices. That's when it hit me. I was finally going to confront her with everything, face to face, and show her I wasn't the fool she thought I was. When she arrived that evening, she looked nervous, more than I'd seen her in a long time. Her eyes darted around the cafe as she sat down across from me. She kept fiddling with her purse, her hands trembling. I studied her, feeling that old anger bubbling beneath the surface. "Lisa," I started, voice calm but cold, "I've seen enough. The messages, the pictures, everything you've been hiding from me. You've been having an affair with Jake for months." I let it hang in the air, watching her cringe. Her face went pale, eyes shiny with tears. "Please don't say that," she whispered, voice cracking. "It wasn't like that. I don't know what to say." "Oh, I think you do," I said, leaning forward. "I've got all the proof, and I want to know, how long has this been going on? How many times have you lied to my face?" She looked down, silent for a long moment. "It just happened. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was stupid. I thought I loved you, but I was confused." Confused, that was a new one. I clenched my fists under the table, feeling the rage simmering just beneath my skin. "You thought you loved me, or you just liked the attention, the thrill of sneaking around." She looked up, tears spilling down her cheeks now. "I was lonely. I made a mistake, okay? I didn't want to hurt you, but I couldn't stop myself. It was wrong, I know that now. Please just forgive me." I shook my head slowly. "You don't get to ask for forgiveness anymore, Lisa. Not after what you've done. You betrayed me, our future, everything we talked about, and you expect me to just forget." Her sobs broke my resolve for a moment. She looked so vulnerable, so broken. I almost felt guilty, but then I remembered the months of lies, the kiss at the party, the secret messages. No, I wouldn't let her pull this on me again. "I want you to leave," I said, voice firm. "Tonight, don't come back. I want my stuff, my keys, my ring, and I never want to see you again." She nodded, voice barely a whisper. "I'll go. I'm sorry. I truly am." As she got up, I felt a strange relief mixed with the searing sting of betrayal. I watched her walk away, her shoulders slumped, tears still streaming down her face. I had made her choose between her lies and me, and she chose her own destruction. But even as she disappeared from sight, I knew this wouldn't be the end. It wasn't enough to just kick her out. I needed her to understand that I could turn this around, that she'd lose more than she ever imagined. That's when I started planning the final move, one last act that would leave her wishing she'd never crossed the line. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the small envelope I'd prepared. Earlier, it was time she got her final surprise. I slipped the keys and the ring inside, sealed it tight, and placed it on the table. My hands trembled less now, replaced by a cold, deliberate resolve. This was my ending, and she'd finally know what it felt like to lose everything she ever took for granted. The house was dead silent after she left. I stood in the doorway, watching her walk out, feeling a strange mixture of emptiness and relief. The finality of it hit me hard. This was over. I thought I'd be numb, maybe even relieved that I'd finally taken control, but instead, there was this gnawing ache deep inside, like I'd lost a part of myself that I'd never get back. For a few days, I stayed locked in that space, sleeping little, eating even less. All I could think about was how betrayed I'd been, how I'd trusted her with everything, and she'd just tossed that away like garbage. It was almost surreal. I'd always believed in honesty, loyalty, that kind of thing. Now I knew better. Trust was a fragile thread, and she had cut it with a single careless act. But I wasn't just going to sit there feeling sorry for myself. No way. I'd come this far, and I knew I had to finish what I started. I needed her to see that I wasn't just some shattered fool. I was the architect of her downfall, and I was going to make damn sure she remembered it. That's when I pulled out the envelope I'd prepared. Inside, I put the keys, the ring I'd given her, and a short note. Simple and direct. "Goodbye. Don't try to contact me. You lost the right to be part of my life. I sealed it all up, then took a deep breath and went to her apartment where I knew she'd be expecting her things. I knocked softly. No answer. I pushed open the door. I knew she'd come back for her stuff eventually. It was quiet, too quiet. I moved straight to her bedroom and placed the envelope on her pillow. As I did, I felt a strange sense of satisfaction. This wasn't just about revenge. It was about reclaiming my dignity, cutting out the part of me that still wanted to believe in her. Then I left, not looking back. I felt lighter as I walked away, already imagining her frantic calls or messages. I knew she'd panic, realize she'd lost everything, and that's what I wanted. To see her unravel, to watch her realize what she threw away in her betrayal. Later that night, I sat alone, finally allowing myself to breathe. I stared at the ceiling, feeling the weight lifting bit by bit. I kept replaying the moments. The kiss, the confrontation, the final act. It all felt like a long, drawn-out nightmare finally ending. And yet part of me wondered if I'd done enough, if I'd left her truly devastated. I knew the answer was yes, but I also knew this wasn't just about revenge. It was about learning to trust myself again, about reclaiming my life from the chaos she dragged me into. I'd been naive, yes, but I was resilient. I'd survive and I'd rebuild, stronger, smarter, and more cautious. That night, I finally allowed myself a moment of peace. But deep down, I knew this story wasn't over. There were still scars, still questions. But I'd learned one thing for sure. Betrayal isn't just about the other person, it's about how you choose to respond. And from now on, I'd choose to do better for myself. The days that followed felt like I was slowly stitching myself back together, piece by piece. It hurt, yeah, but it was also a kind of relief I hadn't expected. Knowing I'd taken control, that I'd cut out the poison that had been poisoning everything I thought was real. That was the only thing keeping me afloat. I told myself I deserved better than someone who would betray me so coldly, so casually. I kept busy, focusing on my work and rediscovering old hobbies I'd neglected. Running, reading, even trying to cook, which was a disaster, but at least I was trying. Every moment I spent away from that house, from her memory, felt like a small victory. Still, every so often, I'd catch myself remembering that kiss, that betrayal, like a sharp sting that refused to fully fade. But I refused to dwell. Instead, I'd remind myself that I'd done what I needed to do. I'd protected what was left of my dignity. One evening, I sat in my favorite chair, holding the ring she once loved, now just a cold reminder of everything gone wrong. I looked at it, feeling nothing but a distant, hollow ache. I finally understood that love, real love, wasn't supposed to feel like this. It wasn't supposed to break you, tear you apart from within. The truth is, I'd been blind, foolish enough to believe that trust was something you could hold on to forever. But trust is fragile, something you earn every day, not something you're entitled to. I learned that lesson the hard way, and honestly, I'd never taken it seriously enough before. Now I was done mourning her. Done questioning if I should have fought harder, stayed longer, loved more. There's a point where you have to let go, where you realize that holding on only keeps you chained to your pain. I'd let her go, and I'd made my peace with it, even if it hurt deep down. And what about her? Well, I heard through mutual friends she'd moved out, probably scared, probably humiliated. I didn't reach out. I didn't need to. Some betrayals are so big, so raw, that they leave permanent scars. But scars can also remind you of who you are, resilient, stronger than before. I knew I'd carry this with me, but I also knew I'd keep moving forward, one step at a time. As I sit here writing this out, I realize something important. I didn't need her to tell me who I was. I already knew. I was the guy who loved, who trusted, who believed in what we had. But I was also the guy who, when pushed too far, learned to fight back. Not with violence or hatred, but with clarity, resolve, and a quiet strength I didn't know I possessed. I don't regret what I did. Not really. Because sometimes the only way to heal from betrayal is to take back your power. To say no, walk away, and never look back. That's what I did. And honestly, I feel lighter for it. Not perfect, not fully healed, but free. So if you're reading this and you're in a similar situation, feeling shattered, betrayed, you have a choice. It won't be easy and there will be pain. But you can choose to walk away, to reclaim your dignity, and to trust yourself again. Because at the end of the day, no one should ever make you doubt your value, not even someone you loved. And that's the truth I'll carry with me, stronger now, ready to face whatever comes next.